37 states prohibit teacher strikes. Will Pennsylvania be next? I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me this hour is Pennsylvania State Representative Farry. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about where this stands at this point, because in late summer there were public hearings related to this issue. You heard from a variety of different interested entities. Talk to us a little bit about these hearings and why bring up the issue of banning teacher strikes at all.
Sure. The legislation is a House Bill 1369, which is Representative Todd Rock's legislation, which I'm a co-sponsor of. The district I represent is actually within the Neshaminy School District, where there's not been a teacher's contract we're in our 4th year now. And it's created a lot of unrest within the community. Obviously, the teachers are not comfortable in the workplace. You know, it's affecting the classroom, the community's up in arms, and the teachers union actually just recently voted to authorize a strike. They haven't gone out on strike yet, but they've authorized a strike. So I requested a hearing on this legislation to be held in our district. It was actually held at the high school. We had testimony from the statewide teachers union, our local school board president, school board representative for the state, parents, some local activists, and myself and Representative Rock all testified. But we were able to bring government to the people in our district so that the residents could attend and actually see what the process is for, you know, eventually another step forward, hopefully, to making this legislation law.
So in working to make this legislation law, why are you a proponent of actually banning teacher strikes?
Right, as you said, 37 states have banned, and now actually Wisconsin is just a 38th state to ban teacher strikes. And I guess my concern is this, you know, collective bargaining process needs to be what it needs to be, but at the end of the day, we're focused, you know, number one priority should be educating the children of our community. Policemen and firemen are not able to strike because they're an essential service, and I believe that the education of our children is also an essential service. So what we really need to focus on is educating the children. The disruption in the education process by having a strike, you know, is obviously problematic. Hopefully all the contracts can be solved just through normal bargaining, normal collective bargaining. We don't need a disruption to our kids' education by having a strike. But
in this example that you've just given us, it's been 4 years without a teacher's contract, so if the normal bargaining channels haven't worked, what then would be alternatives for teachers?
Yeah. Well, that's actually another aspect of legislation. Legislation actually does two things. It bans the teacher's ability to strike, or the union's ability to strike, but the other aspect of it is it changes the bargaining structure somewhat, requires more frequent meetings, adds some transparency to the negotiating process, so you don't have the he said, she said as to what the contract offers have been or counter offers have been. Literally, the public will know what those offers are because both sides, the school board and the union, will be required to make offers at certain times, and those offers will have to be made public. So you'll add a component of public pressure, and it still keeps a level of fairness in the collective bargaining process.
Now, you mentioned collective bargaining, so that would remain in place?
Correct. It would remain in place. There would also be mediation. There'd be fact-finding. There'd be non-binding arbitration. With that non-binding arbitration, the arbiter would actually choose one proposal or the other, and then both sides will be required to vote on that proposal. So both the union and the school board have to have an up and down vote on that. So all those processes that are already in place will remain. There's some additional processes that will be added to it. There's no final endpoint. There's no binding arbitration, because binding arbitration is actually bad for the community. We elect our school board to make our decisions for us. We don't want some arbitrator from whoever knows where that has whatever background making a decision that affects our property taxes. So we want our school board to make the final decision, but at the end of the day, this enhances the prospects of a settlement through changing the process.
What about penalties? Would there be penalties in place if the school district or the teachers don't meet these benchmarks along the way?
Sure, there are penalties built in. If there's a lockout by the school board or an illegal strike by the union, there are penalties that the folks that make those decisions will face. Representative Rock, I think, wants to make some changes to the bill, and based on my experiences in Neshaminy, I think we need to make some tweaks to it to make the bill better, but it's something that we're definitely going to be advocating for in Harrisburg this fall, and hopefully we can move forward with this becoming law.
And we just have a few seconds left, but you mentioned this is something you'll be working on in the fall, but where does this stand at this point?
Right now, it's still in the Education Committee. The hearing process was part of the vetting of the legislation, so it'll still need to come through the Education Committee, then to the full House, and then over to the Senate. Obviously, hopefully we still have the support of the governor on the issue as well.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Pennsylvania State Representative Farry. I'm Jill Horner.